welcome back to our Tech in 10 segment here that we have going on. This one is all about using NotebookLM and using NotebookLM and the studio tools that are available to teachers as part of that AI platform, and how they can be really helpful in creating different instructional content or activities for students to help engage with the content that teachers are working on in their classes. And in this episode here, we're going to take a look at the NotebookLM tools of the flashcards and the quizzes. So I'm going to share here to the screen. Here's just my homepage from NotebookLM, and you'll recall from a previous segment that the overview of NotebookLM, how to access this. So I am drawing upon my extensive background here as a social studies teacher, right, to give you another example in that content area, but realize it can be applicable across different content areas and different grade levels of students. And I have one in here for ancient Rome. And so I'm going to open up my NotebookLM that I've already had running, with the different sources and things that I would have added. Consider this to be, say, for example, some readings that I had that went along with ancient Rome in a particular unit, or some activities or assignments that I had students working on that is going to be part of that final assessment that I have in the unit, whatever that happens to be, whether it's some sort of a test, maybe it's some sort of a culminating project on that particular unit, whatever fits your style of teaching and what you think is best for your students. But you'll see here then that on the studio tools in that third panel all the way over to the right-hand side, there are two tools I'm drawing attention here today. The first one is flashcards. So what you can do is you can create flashcards that focus on some of the key concepts or some of the key vocabulary that goes along with the particular unit and the content that you added to it in this source panel. So I'm going to, before I just jump in and create a flashcard, I'm going to click on the little pencil icon there. Because what you're allowed to do here with this is you can kind of control the content that is going to be on those cards from the source content that is available to you. You can choose to make a fewer number of cards, a standard default number of cards, or more cards, depending upon what your needs happen to be. You can also think about it. I could use this to make different sets of flashcards that maybe focus on different parts of the unit. Like maybe I have one that focuses on key political leaders within ancient Rome, and I could generate flashcards about those individual people. Or maybe you want the flashcards to be just about, say, the causes for the fall of the Roman Empire, and it would focus on those different parts of whatever your lesson happened to be. You can also choose to make them easier or more difficult, depending upon the grade level of your students. You can also then assign it those specific things. Like if I want a standard number of cards, but I want it to be on key political leaders of ancient Rome, then when I go and click generate, it's going to focus on that particular content area. So I'm gonna have that just generating here in the background, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna show you some of the other sets of flashcards that I created. So here is where in the panel, if I open up one of them, it's drawing content, and I know because one of them was a crash course video, one of these is a YouTube video over on the side, that had to deal with this, and and it gives then a question that goes along with it. If I click flip on the card, it brings me to what the correct response is. And then if I, as the person interacting with this, whether it's the teacher or the student, need further explanation for it, it's really nice. You can click on the explain button and it opens up a chat within that middle panel of your notebook that's going to help explain where that came from. And what you'll notice when it generates the response is that it's going to draw upon the source content that's over there in that left-hand panel. I'm going to just kind of assume you'll know that here as we go through. So those are the different things with the flashcards. And if I click on this one now that it finished creating it, you could see that it's based on the sources that I have there, and it gives me questions here that are related to them. I can also advance to the next card if I need to see the answer and flip back around, and I can keep going through. Now, what's really nice here, and we've talked about this before, is that if you are a user of Google Classroom, that this notebook can be shared to your students through Google Classroom, and they'll be able to use these studio tools to be able to do some of that reviewing on their own. And here, for example, you could see there's the source that it pulled it through. It finally finished generating in the middle there. So those are the flashcard features. And I think it's great as a review and a practice area for students to work and engage with the content that you have for your unit. The other thing here that I want to focus on as a tool within the studio area is the quiz tools. And again, just like I started with the flashcards, I'm going to click on that pencil icon. And you'll notice it's going to be very similar in how it is set up to change the fewer or more number of questions, or even to the level of difficulty that you would like to have in there. And here's where you could say, I would like these to be maybe multiple choice questions, or I would like them to focus on, students having to analyze or evaluate the causes and effects of different factors in causing the decline of the Roman Empire, for example. And it would just kind of allude to those particular things that you tell it to. I went ahead and generated a quiz here that was based upon many of these sources. And I'm just going to show you that here now. This one is set up as multiple choice questions. And you could see it gives them 4 options. Because this is a formative thing that I'm not actually assessing them on, but I'm giving kids an opportunity to interact with some of the content as it might look on that final assessment that I have for the unit. And I can choose one of these responses, and it's going to tell me right away if I get the answer right or if I get the answer wrong. I happen to pick the right one here by random chance, but then it tells you exactly why it was right. If I go to the next question and maybe I get that one wrong, it's going to then show me what the correct answer was. And if I want more explanation, I just like with the flashcards, if I clicked on explain, it's going to open up another interaction here within the chat window, which I can then go back, by the way, if I have a question that I didn't understand something, even after this explanation, I can add follow-up questions to that as well. And it gives you the opportunity to continue practicing your learning here before that summative assessment is going to come up. So I'll just hop back here. Whenever I make one of these available in these studio tools area, the ones that I have generated, those are the ones that if it's shared through Google Classroom, students are going to be able to interact with. If there are ones in here that I don't want them to use, like I generated them, but it's not something I want to share with students, before I share it out through Google Classroom, then I'm going to want to go back into this area and delete out the ones that I don't want them to be able to have access to. So just a helpful thing to kind of keep in mind as you're going to be able to use these different tools, the flashcard and the quiz features, which I think are really powerful. And I think are great additions that NotebookLM has added that I think really any teacher could benefit from. And don't forget too, like, use your human eyes here. And if there are ones or questions of these perhaps that you don't like in one of these areas, remind kids that it's just a practice thing. It might not be the ones that would appear on the test. And you don't have to kind of give them the answer to everything on the test, but just some practice with things that they might encounter. So those are the different tools, the flashcards and the quiz available within the studio tools on NotebookLM. Well, thanks for joining us on this Tech in 10 episode. We look forward to seeing you back here on our next one.